All right, everyone, welcome back to this week's The Paddock Pass. This week we're going to discuss the trials and tribulations of comp school. We have Marshall Lytle with us, and yeah, it's going to be a fun conversation.
Well, I'm Jack. I'm the chief instructor down at Dominion Raceway for the SCCA. I did comp school last year. It was one of, if not the most fun event I think I've ever been to. I since haven't necessarily taken advantage of that comp school knowledge. I've done one non-sanctioned race. But yeah, I look forward to speaking with everybody else. Trey, David, Marshall. Would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, hi all. Marshall Lytle. I've been doing this racing thing for a few years. Got my license in 2000. Started teaching comp school in 2004. So I've been doing this for a little bit. Do a lot of racing, do a lot of HPD instructing, a lot of data analysis, and always happy to talk about this comp school thing because to me it is the most compacted fun you can have in a weekend. Very intense and a great time. So really looking forward to talking about it and getting more people interested in it.
Also, probably the cheapest dollar per lap you will ever find.
I would agree with that as well. Like, you do not get more track time per dollar. And I have
correct.
Very much considered just going back to comp school.
Yeah, we occasionally get licensed drivers will take the comp school just for the track time, because the track time per dollar is huge. Plus instruction all day.
It seems like a win-win-win to me. I myself, Trey Albrecht, they went through comp school in 2022. Now a fully licensed racer, instructor in the community, and now a non-provisional comp school instructor. So I'll be on my own this year.
Oh, welcome to the crowd.
God help us.
Very excited for that. And then we have David.
David Alessi did comp school with Trey in 22. Fully licensed, comp licensed now as of, I think, got off the rookie permit first year. Also HPDE grid tech team, HPD instructor. Been last couple years, myself, Trey, when he's not instructing, and a couple other of the Pucker Up Racing team. We've been at comp school every year to provide crew support for anybody we have lined up, or anybody that shows up and is lacking, anybody that, their crew doesn't show up, what have you. We are there to provide crew because you're not going to do it without it.
That's very good.
Yeah. So I think that kind of goes into the very first conversation is, how do we even do this, right? Like, how do you even, you can just sign up for comp school. That's fine. You can rent a car and say, okay, somebody's going to show up with a car. They might or might not assist with said car. But how do you get through the weekend, Marshall? Like, if you look at the schedule, it's, I don't know, basically 30 minutes on, 30 minutes off for 2 days plus 4 hours on Friday.
Pretty close. It's like we were talking about. It's really intense. So you're doing all the preparation ahead of time is key, because once you get into the weekend, the pace of operations, it's 20-20-20. It's 20 minutes on track, 20 minutes with your instructor, and 20 minutes in classroom, and then right back on track again. So you don't have time to really do anything else as a student except pay attention to the classwork, the track time, and learning. So that's where the mention about crew is critical, because you have to have somebody with you that'll take care of the car for you, make sure it's gassed up, tired up, fixed, put on the grid for you, so that you can just get out of it, get with your instructor, get in the classroom, get back in the car, go. Very intense weekend. That's the pace all day Saturday and all day Sunday. And then Saturday night, basically collapsed from exhaustion. It's great.
We might have different definitions of great.
I agree with Marshall on that one. No, that's the best kind of exhaustion.
Yeah. Actually, you collapse, but you can't sleep because your brain is just spinning with everything that happened that day and what happened on that session and who you passed and who passed you and how this went. What are you going to do tomorrow? And the big races tomorrow. So it's lot of activity for 48 hours.
Yeah, there's a lot of emotions happening, right? It's excitement, it's nervousness, it's all kinds of stuff. That was when I did it. It was by far the most fun I've had, and yeah, to echo everything else, it was the most exhausting, but in a good way, right? Like at the end of the day, you feel like you accomplished something.
And you almost got to plan on not getting any work done at the office Monday through Wednesday afterwards, because your brain is still running laps on the track for the next 3 days after the event. Just your adrenaline just doesn't calm down for days.
No, it's been awesome. A year. Every once in a while, I think back. I should have just gone to the inside at one, but missed opportunity. It's still get the flashbacks. Yeah. Is there?
I think the biggest takeaway, real quick though, is that you shouldn't have missed that shift as you're leading the first race.
Oh,
because you embarrassed a whole team of people,
right? I mean, we had a reputation to uphold.
I told you I just needed to go to the inside. Everything would have been fine.
Okay.
We'll hash this out a little deeper this weekend.
Yeah. But if you want, we can touch on the preparation bit a little bit, because in order to succeed at this school, you have to finish the school. You and the car have to survive the weekend complete and functional. And to do that, you have to prep yourself ahead of time. So to make sure you don't have any hang-ups before you even get to the school, there's a process of applying for the license, getting a medical exam. There's 2 SCCA University online classes you have to take. There's an open book test on the GCR that you have to do before the school. Hint, hint, open book, no excuse not to get 100 on it. And you have to know all the flags. You got to study the flag stuff because it's a flag test on Friday night. So if you get that stuff lined up and you clear all that through on Friday night, you're golden for the weekend from a academic and driver prep point of view. But if you screw up the open book test, or if you miss a bunch of the flags, you end up having lots of talks with your instructor about how to kind of overcome that stuff, and you may have to retake the test. So anything you can do ahead of time for yourself will just increase your probability of success for the weekend. And then car prep is the same thing. Just like you prepped yourself, you need to make sure the car you have, whether it's a rental or your own, will not require basic maintenance over the weekend. Do the oil change, do the brake pad change, do the checks front to back. Make sure you have tires with tread on them. Make sure you have something that can drive in the rain for tires. Make sure you have maybe an extra set of brake pads in case you run through them. So that the car, basically, you want to be just add gas and go all weekend, so that your crew doesn't have to be flailing around to fix everything. Because if your car breaks and you miss a session or 2 while they're fixing it, you may not pass the school because you need a certain amount of on-track time in order to meet the requirements. Or it may break and you may be done for the weekend unless you rent another car. And that's, if that happens, there are cars available to rent on site. Several of the vendors bring extra cars with them. And we've had frequently cases where a car is broken down or somebody bent something and they just walked over to Chris Windsor or RP Performance or whatever and rented a Miata, and they were right back out the next session and they passed the school. So just like preparing yourself to make sure yourself is ready for the school and you've checked all the administrative boxes, but your car also has to be ready to go and plan on, no basic maintenance of the weekend. It should be just add gas, check air, and go.
Right. So you should really be driving a car that you've already shaken down, is known to work. The car well, you and your crew know how to maintain that car. Just come expecting to, make things easy on yourself and your crew.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's absolutely correct, Patrick. Yeah.
Yep. And to add,
don't build a new car and never have it on track before the event. That's a formula for failure.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep. And to add to what Marshall was saying about missed sessions can wreck your weekend, that can cause you to fail. There are requirements of number of hours spent on track. In the event something like that happens, for anybody that sees this, is watching now, communicate with your instructor, communicate with your group head instructor. I missed a session during my comp school. I had alternator failure. I drove the next session just on the battery, praying every lap that it kept going. And then there just wasn't enough time to charge the battery enough in between sessions. So my crew ran out to AutoZone, grabbed an alternator, swapped it out my next session. In that session, I went and spent it with my instructor on a corner with him the whole session. Communicate with people, and there's usually a solution within. If it's going to be something within reason, everybody is willing to help. Everybody is willing to chip in and do whatever needed to see you succeed. Nobody wants to see you fail.
Correct. And also, if the car breaks down and you miss a session, there's 4 other sessions that you'll be on track, not in your car. They're called instructor ride-arounds. And first thing in the morning each day and lunchtime is an opportunity to ride around with your instructor in their car. And we go out as instructors with all of our cars with students in them, and we do demonstration passing drills and demonstration line stuff. And that time on track counts for your license. So if you miss a session, the time with your in your instructor's car, that time can be added to your amount to pass the school. So missing a session is not, the death knell for the school. We can work around that to an extent. So
as far as prepping yourself and prepping your car for the weekend and all this stuff goes, or for wheel-to-wheel racing in general, I understand that there are some specific safety requirements. I come from the HPD and time trial side of things. I'm not super familiar with what is required for me to attend that comp school, but what is kind of the basic, general things that need to happen for a car to make it through comp school?
For tech inspection, it has to meet the safety regulations for the class it's racing in.
Yes, sir.
And depending on what class you race in, those requirements can be slightly different. But the basics are, a full 6-point plus cage, 5 6-point harnesses, fire system, fire suit, all the complete driver gear, shoes, socks, gloves, suit, helmet, cons, all that stuff. And all that stuff has to pass a tech inspection before the school. So if you're racing a car that's already been a race car, it has had a signed off logbook before, it should have met a safety inspection before that. But you can get your cars tech inspected this weekend at the track at the HPDE, or the Friday before comp school, they'll be doing tech inspections also. The Friday before comp school is usually an open practice day with Summit Point. So students can come to that and then do that and get their cars tech inspected before the school for a little practice round. But yeah, it has to pass the tech inspection. And the earlier you do that, the better, because there's a lot of little nuances, like having pins in the catches for your harnesses that they'll get you if you don't have them done. So to get somebody to look over your car who's a racer or who's a tech inspector before you get to the school can really iron out some of that stuff. But the basic safety stuff is you got to have a race car. It's got to meet race spec safety stuff, not HPD spec racing safety stuff.
Yes, sir.
And to elaborate on that,
you mentioned
having somebody look over your car, ahead of time. This weekend, if you don't feel that your car is ready or want a set of eyes prior to bringing it for the annual inspection, bring it to us up on grid at the HPDE. Most all of us there are racers, so we'd be more than happy to look it over and point anything out or make notes for you, whatnot. Also, something that I don't know that I've seen written anywhere, was not told to me ahead of time. If you are getting your car teched, getting a logbook issued for the first time, it costs $10 to have a new logbook issued, and it is cash only. Much to our surprise, a couple of us found that out altogether. Needless to say, none of us had cash. So there was a little bit of a scramble there. So that would have been really nice to know ahead of time.
But one of the advantages of renting a car, and a lot of students will rent a car for these events, because so they don't have to worry about that. Is when all these folks that rent cars provide support for the weekend. So they make sure that car is ready to go for every session, including it's already tech inspected and it has all that stuff checked off before it gets there because it's one of their regular race cars. So you basically, you're literally just doing nothing but driving. The RP guys, the Windsor guys, all those guys are renting cars. They provide the car and they make sure it's running, they make sure it has tires, make sure it's ready to go so you can get through the class.
Yep, that is absolutely
That's
the easy
definitely
button.
something that it cannot be understated either. Yeah, if you rent a car, you're set.
Yeah.
I know I got super lucky last year with my crew situation. David, you were there. Trey, you were instructing, but when you weren't instructing, you were over there at least throwing things at my crewmates. But yeah, we had the whole pucker up and was it half-fast racing?
Half-assed.
Yeah, the whole crew.
Half-assed
We
motorsports.
were working on.
It's awesome you guys do that.
Half-assed motorsports. And there were probably 5-6 different cars that we supported.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all just volunteered the time?
I did nothing. They volunteered the time. My
Yeah.
crew was spectacular. I went to class. I had a chance to go to the bathroom like once or twice. I spoke with the instructor, and then my car was sitting there warm, ready for me to just hop in it and drive. The quality of crew really cannot be understated.
How can if people are curious about that, who should they reach out to about having pucker up and half-ass support them during the comp school?
Any one of us, myself, Trey, Chris Benedetto, Nick Jones, Bill Smith, really any of or Jack, any of the instructors for any of the groups would know, at least, even if they don't know us, they would know how to put somebody in touch with us. There's a whole host of ways they could.
Okay.
And also,
we're all on Facebook. Pucker Up has a Facebook. Half-Assed has a Facebook. Get with Marshall. Get with you. Pretty much anybody will know how to get in touch with at least one of us.
Okay.
And also, I think this year they're actually requiring each student to identify a crew ahead of time. However, stuff happens and some crew cancels at the last minute or whatever. And we did have that extra sign up this year. We added to the registration for folks to sign up, and the Pucker Up and the Half-Assed crew have signed up there. So if a student has an issue with their crew, has bailed out on them for some reason, or they need extra help with something, sing out at the all hands in the morning or Friday night in the classroom, and we will make sure that some of the folks that have signed up to help get assigned to you to help. So you're very interested in making you survive the school and have your car survive the school so you can pass. So you're supposed to bring a crew with you, but if something happens and that crew's not available, or if something big happens and you need some extra help, just find an instructor or find anybody, and we will identify the 5 folks that have signed up to help and have somebody run over and help you out. So we can overcome that problem.
Yeah, and so just like glancing at the registration, we have a bunch of people who we were supported in the past, like McRae and Nick and Corey are all signed up to help, right? They're all it's here to pay it forward. So there's 8, and there's 14 people registered just as crew for.
Wow. It was 4 last I looked. That's great.
And that's
registration. I looked over the student registrations, and it's huge. We have 55 cars registered, which I think is bigger than we've had in the last couple of years. There's 11 open wheel, 22 Miata group, and 22 in the big board group. So it should be a great school. That's a lot of students, and we usually get a couple more that sign up at the last minute too. So.
Yeah, that's a good number to see starting the season off.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And I love looking down the list and recognizing the names of HPD students and instructors on that list, and TTers that are, hey, I know those 4 people. I don't want to instruct that one. Since I had, I think, both of you guys in the 22 school. Was that one of the years I was a senior instructor for? Was I the classroom instructor or was Chris Sean?
I think you.
It was Chris for us.
Chris? Okay.
Yeah.
I did it during the COVID years, the 2019, 20, 21, I think.
Yeah, I think in our school you had Benedetto and
Oh, that guy.
right? Yeah.
I hope he has a car that doesn't blow up this year.
It's
Oh,
never
don't be
blown up.
No, the not blown up cargo, that's mine. Chris is the not bent and in the shape of a tree or something of that nature.
The shape of an SRF.
Or a surf. Yeah.
So,
Sorry,
we-
Chris.
we-
I know you're not
we-
watching this though.
we kind of talked about, how to prepare beforehand. We've talked about preparing the car. We've talked about some safety items. The driver, it sounds like it's a pretty busy weekend. They need to obviously come prepared, bring their snacks, bring their drinks, waters. Is there anything else that the driver should, kind of come prepared to do, a mindset that they should have during the weekend?
Yeah, they
Great question,
absolutely
Patrick.
need
It,
to be
yeah,
prepared mentally.
The drink thing is a big thing because you don't realize, even if it's 20 degrees outside, you don't realize how your body is dehydrating when you're in a race car that much. So we expect kind of all the students to be walking around with a water bottle for one. But the big thing is for students, no matter what your background, whether you're a newbie, whether you're an advanced student, is to leave your ego at the gate when you come in. This is a very intense learning environment. You'll get one-on-one, kind of personalized instruction from your instructor, but the classroom environment is group instruction. So we as instructors are obviously not in the car with you. We stand around the track on corners and we write down numbers of cars that do things right, do things wrong, could improve, or somebody did something. And then we get back to the classroom and we go around the track, say, corner one instructors, what did you see? And we may go, hey, car 5, car 12, car 14, you missed the apex, car 8, car 7, you did a great job, whatever. So as students, you have to be able to absorb that feedback in a public environment and not be offended, because it's all about making you better drivers and better racers, not just better drivers. So please, leave egos at the door. The instructors are not out to get you. We will compliment you when we see great stuff, but we're going to point out stuff that needs to be improved also, because that's what this environment is all about. It's a very intense learning environment. So please, students, leave your egos at the door and be wide open to input and instruction to make you a better racer.
I really enjoy those types of environments, and I know not everybody does, but I enjoy like the conversation happening as a group. I think that's the best way for me to learn. It makes everybody talk to each other. It seems more effective for, you're all driving on a track together at the same time, right? So let's all have this conversation as a group.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because it's usually it's not one car that's a problem or a good thing. It's like, hey, 2 cars
yes, sir.
got through that corner side by side and executed a great pass. Good job, both of you. Or 2 cars didn't interact well and somebody did something. So we need to learn from others on how to do that right. And you hit a great point there, Patrick, obtusely, I guess. But hey, we're all out on their track together, whether you're in the school or racing. And you're not just out there with a bunch of big metal objects. You're out there with a bunch of your buddies and friends that are in those big metal objects driving. Yep. So you're racing with other people, and those people are out there to have fun just like you. So we watch the classroom environment, and the first session or two, people come in and they're all sitting there at the desk quiet because they don't know most of them don't know each other or whatever. But generally by the end of the last day, it's hard to keep the students from talking when they come into the classroom, because they're all yucking it up about some pass they made. Yep. And hey, are you in the yellow car? Yeah, that's awesome. We just had so much fun on the main straight or whatever. So it is a team effort out there on the track. It's competition, but nobody wins unless everybody works together to make that happen. And the more you get to know the person behind the wheel of that big metal object, the more fun you're going to have and the more fun they're going to have. So it's a great environment for hanging out with people. The reality is, you're at the track for a race weekend, you're on the track for an hour, 2 hours, whatever. You're hanging out in the paddock for the other 48 hours with all the people around you, having fun, trading stories, fixing each other's cars, going out to dinner, whatever. It's really kind of a cool family fun environment that you do a little competition on the side.
Yeah, I think that's why we all mostly do this, right? It's a really good social environment. I do like to compete. I enjoy that, but I enjoy the social aspect of this region so much. And everybody I've met so far has been, it's been great. The wheel to wheel stuff sounds awesome. I may have to start prepping my car soon. Maybe I can make it. Maybe I can make it there next year.
Not maybe.
You can definitely
say
make
with
it.
me,
You just have
Patrick.
to make some choices.
I can make it there next year. And I think one thing to also keep in mind for all students is that the school is about progression. A lot of what Marshall said, circled around it, but the school is about progression, right? Going with that, leaving the ego at the door. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing this. Doesn't matter if it's there are people that their first time on track will be comp school. Prior to having an HPDE program, that's how people got on track. You went to comp school and you got your comp license and you went racing. And there are still people that will do that. There are also people that have been doing HPDE and TT for 10, 15 plus years. So there are a whole range of skill levels, but it is about progression. You don't have to come out and in the first session, set a personal best lap time. Nobody wants to see that. Your instructors want to see you learn because you've never done wheel to wheel, and it's a whole different skill set. And there are plenty of things to learn, not just setting a 1 lap fast pace. It's about learning across the weekend as a whole. It's about learning from start to finish and progression.
Correct. And we have, like you said, we have a wide variety of backgrounds coming into these classes sometimes. So it requires patience on the part of newbies that are dealing with people that are going real fast around them, and patience on the part of the experienced folks to recognize that, hey, car 14 has never been on track before. So, give them a little bit wider berth or whatever, but recognize that because reality, that's what you're going to face in competition also. Just the level's a little higher. You get folks at races that are just new to racing, and get folks that have been racing for 25 years and know every inch of the track and know every move 10 of the other racers can do because they've been racing with them for 15 years. So it's about patience and progression over the course of the weekend, learning as you go along. We tend to kind of the focus of the day on Saturday tends to be driving the track, making sure everybody's, hitting the marks and knows the line around the track, although in racing, the line is different. And then toward the end of the day, Saturday and into Sunday, we really shift the focus from driving skills to racing skills. Those are two different things.
Yeah.
In order to do the racing skills the best, the driving skills have to be kind of innate muscle memory. In order to think about the strategy of other cars around you, the car has to be driven with your muscle memory around the track for the most part. So you don't have to think about, I need to be an inch away from the apex. Your back of your brain is doing that already. You're thinking about planning on passing the car that's 1 turn ahead and how you're going to make that pass and where you're going to make it on the track. So it's a driving skill set, and then it's a strategic racing skill set. Day one, we tend to focus on the driving skill set to bring everybody up to a level. And then we try to focus more on the strategic skill set as a whole later in the day, Saturday and all day Sunday.
So for the people who have come through the DE program, I myself did the same thing, and in comp school was still a shock. What would you say to think about going into school? Like, let's say I understand the car, I understand car dynamics, like I'm an instructor. What would you say you should learn or think about?
Yeah, first off, if you're coming from the H-Speed program, you got to mentally say to yourself, this is not an HPD. And actually, as an instructor and a racer, I have to do that back and forth between racing and instructing because it's two different environments. On the racetrack and the racing environment, you tend to drive, 9.5 to 10.5. In the DE environment, you may think you're driving 10 out of 10, but you're probably driving 9 or 8.5. And there's no point buys. In the racing school, it's green track every session, no point buys, open passing everywhere. It's racing environment. So you have to leave that HPD environment thought process of I'm coming up behind somebody, I got to wait for a point buy, or somebody behind me is not going to pass me until I give them a point buy. That doesn't happen in a racing environment. You got to expect the guy that's coming up behind you to find a place to go around you, and they will, no matter where that is. And somebody you're coming up behind, if you diddle daddle around behind them for a while, waiting for a good place to pass or a more safe place to pass, whatever, somebody else may come up behind you because you're going slower than you normally are. So you have to make that mental shift from an HPD, driving around by yourself fast environment to a racing, hey, there's a bunch of cars around me. We're all trying to do the same thing. And yes, we can signal to each other if necessary, but you don't have to expect that point buy and you don't have to give that point buy. That makes sense?
Yeah, it makes very clear sense. So then it leads me right into my next question is, let's talk about like the vortex of danger. We hear this all the time on the internet. We know every organization has a different understanding of how you appropriately pass a car in a racing situation. How does SCCA define it, and how do you do that correctly, safely, and appropriately as a new patron or a new racer?
Yeah, so SCCA actually wrote that into an appendix in the GCCR. I think it's appendix. Oh, you got me on this. Is exactly what
yes, section 37, part D, appendix D. Yes.
Okay, yeah, it used to be like appendix Quebec or something like that, but it would be. I think there's actually a question on the open book test that's out of that appendix.
Oh.
So students should be reading that appendix, and it's only a couple pages, but it's pretty definitive. Although nothing is 100% in racing, there's always a who was in there kind of thing. And we will go over that in the classroom. That's part of the classroom instruction, is that cone of danger, whatever. It deals with the concept of who owns the corner kind of thing, and is there an overlap or whatever. And generally, it's if you can't see them, they're probably there. So you got to watch, and you got to be kind of up to the person's A-pillar before you can really exercise rights to the corner. But I won't go into too much of that without putting those diagrams of that appendix out. But it would behoove all the students to really read that APAC or that appendix before the school, and bring your questions if you have any.
Nice. Okay.
I don't want to intrude too much on the school curriculum.
Well, so if you were to TLDR, right, like this is how it should really happen. I actually have it right here. Share screen. Can you see that?
Hey, there we go. Yep.
So to talk about this, and it's interpreted to me very differently in different situations. But as not going into the nitty gritty, how would you say this is a safe way to pass somebody or not?
Yeah, and the figure 6 there at the top, the red car has not gotten into the yellow car's field of vision before the turn-in point.
Yeah.
So they're in the vortex of danger. They are not visible to the car that's turning in and have not gotten enough of an overlap to be there, which is where my comment about being up to the A-pillar, so you know the driver in front of you can see you before they turn in. Because otherwise you're driving into that. The definition of that vortex is Look at that. That's a cone that gets really tiny toward the apex.
Yep.
And if that person on the outside doesn't see you, then you're driving into a space that's getting really small, and it's
no
not
longer
going to.
exists.
The same in the second paragraph there, or figure 7. If you're trying to pass on the outside, and you think you're going to sneak around the outside of that car, and that yellow car doesn't see you, they're going to track out.
Yeah.
And that's not going to end well.
It seems like so much of this is just being aware, not only of what's going on around you, but where you are in relation to someone else, right? Like that's what a lot of this just boils down to.
It is exactly right.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things that I really, really enjoy, and I start with really all of my HPDE students. This is the beginnings of inter-car communication, where obviously you can't talk to the guy in the yellow car can't talk to the guy in the red car, but hell, if this has been going on for 2, 3, 4 laps, these guys are absolutely talking to each other. They know what the next one is thinking, they know what's going on, and that's where the inter-car communication really, really shines. And that's where I have so much fun with this entire hobby and lifestyle, is being able to communicate without saying a word, without even looking at each other in the eyes. It's so much fun.
So there's this is a whole different debacle of a conversation. There's thinking and there's who's correct, and then there's who earned the corner. Right. Those are all very different things in different situations. And can all be the same. But it's a really good footprint for how you should go about it. But I will say also understanding, like Marshall was talking about, the community and the people you race with. The more you're there, the more you know what they're gonna do and how they will behave and react in a situation. It's a lot easier for me to be on David or Jack's bumper, like within an inch or less than, and be able to go through 1 through 9. Like I can do that because I know them and I know what they're going to do, and I'll know what they'll do in a situation where something doesn't go correctly. And that is a lot of the fun for me. But I think this is one of the biggest things that is, I would say, maybe not necessarily discussed well enough, and rightfully so, because it's a complex situation to understand. But something that people should start thinking about, right? To my top level, how I would explain it, if I cannot see the driver, they cannot see me. Period. End of story. Even if I'm in the right, I assume if I can't look at them in a mirror or in the face, I'm in the wrong. Whether on paper I am or am not, I'm going to back out and we yield. And bent metal is not worth it.
No, nobody likes bent metal. That's to be avoided at all costs. And you're right on with that, Trey. It's awareness. It's being able to see the other driver. It's knowing the drivers around you. And, I go out in a race and there's 20 other cars. I might know 15 of them. I might know 12 of them, exactly how they race and what I get away with and what they can get away with. And there's 5 that I've never seen before. And I'm not going to go an inch door to door into turn 1 with those guys. I may do that with some of the other guys that I know, but I'm going to give a wider berth to folks that I don't know until I understand how they drive. And that's part of the game, is not only you're racing another car, you're racing another person, and everybody has habits. And everybody does this. Somebody breaks in some places, somebody breaks in another place, somebody turns in there, somebody turns in there. In the instructor drive around, it's kind of humorous because we all know each other and we've been instructing together for 20 years. So we're out there in our street cars, a Suburban or a Porsche or whatever, and we will go an inch away from each other into turn 1 in the instructor drive arounds. And some of the students are freaking out. Like, I'm in a sports car and I got a Suburban right next to me. I know he can't see me, but I know he knows where I am because he knows me and he knows where I'll be. And I can count on him not to turn in on me because I've been racing with the guy for 20 years. And we've been doing this forever. So that kind of familiarity is so much fun to be able to do that stuff with.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That makes such a huge difference just to know the people that you're beside. So that like affects everything. Like if you go travel and go do a race, you know, on the other side of the country, I mean it's a completely different thing then. You're relearning your whole atmosphere. That
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine how stressful that would be to race with a whole new set of people.
Yeah, and it's
And
the people
probably
you
on a
might
new
race
track.
with, or I might know somebody from racing for 20 years,
Yeah.
but I know
Yes, sir.
Summit Point is not their home track, but it's mine.
Yes, sir.
So they know that they'll follow me around or whatever. And if I go to their track, I'll follow them around. You learn from each other up until the point where you're competing for a position.
Yes,
And
sir.
then it's fair game.
So
All part of the fun.
I know we haven't really mentioned it yet, but while we're on here, what are the dates for Comp School? I know it's coming up soon.
It's the 14th, 15th.
14th, 15th? Okay.
I think that's it.
Sure.
Yeah, 15th, 16th.
Okay.
It's actually, it starts on the 14th, which is the Friday night session for the flag school and an introductory class for everybody.
Yes,
And
sir.
then on Saturday, we break into the 3 run groups, the open wheel, the small bore, and the big bore, and go into the focus sessions with those groups and start that 20-20-20 rotation for the rest of the weekend.
And we've kind of covered a large range of topics here, but Marshall, is there anything that you would like to talk about while we have this? Like we've talked about, prepping yourself mentally. We've talked about prepping your car. We've talked about safety, learning the racecraft. What general advice would you share for someone? Yeah.
The criteria for passing the school.
Yes, sir.
What does it take to pass the school? We as instructors, get a vote on all the students that we're working with. And we have to, the bottom line is we need to be comfortable going into turn 1 at 100 and something right next to you. So, because you're going to be out racing with us. So the instructors that you'll have are generally from the classes that you will be racing in, that's defined by the cars. So we have to be comfortable racing with you on a racetrack somewhere. Right. And not be going, oh my God, this person in school was just an absolute nightmare. So we need to be comfortable with you. And that means you need to be safe. You need to be aware of your scenario. And you need to be competitive in your lap times for the car you have. So if you're driving a Porsche GT4 around at 138 lap times on Main, you're not being competitive with that car. So that kind of sets an expectation of what is this person doing if they can't get that car into the low 120s or whatever it's going to take. So we are absolutely not looking for lap records in the comp school. We are looking for times that would be competitive in the class you intend to race in. Mm-hmm. So we know if you're driving a Nissan 240Z that you should probably be, if you're top of the heap, you're going to be at this time. If you're mid-pack in ITS, which is the class they run in, you'd be in this time. If you're somewhere in that range, you're doing good. If you're 10 seconds slower than the slowest car we know of in that class, something's not right. You're not capable of driving the car in that class, and you're going to end up being a speed bump, which gets to the safety function. So we're looking as instructors to be comfortable driving next to you into a turn. That means you need to be safe, you need to be aware, and competitive in your times. And then there's also that administrative stuff that you have to have passed the test too. So that's the open book test and the flag test. So back to do your prep work ahead of time, get those out of the way so don't have to accommodate those in a classroom environment.
Okay. So here's a hot take question. What is the most egregious thing you've seen happen over the last 20 years?
Oh, well, I don't want to be too specific so that the target is identified, but we've had folks show up that are just not capable, they have all the will, they have the attitude, they are great people, but they just do not have the skill set or the awareness to drive around the track. And they become literally dangerous because they are swerving around the track. Instead of holding their line, they try to move out of the way at the last minute when somebody's passing them. Seen that more than once. And those are about the only people that I've seen that haven't passed the school. Usually it's one or two a year that don't pass for some reason like that. Very rare, because we can usually, folks are interested. They're there to learn. They're there to do this. So we can coach people through to get them up to the skill set they need. But there's always one or two that just are not going to get there, and maybe they should play in golf instead.
Yeah, it seems like it's just so important. It's almost like a dance, right? You have to be comfortable leading, and you have to be consistent, and you have to have good timing and be predictable, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a really bad student take out another student's car. There was no injuries, thankfully, but when you wreck somebody else's race car, particularly as a student that's doing well, gets their car taken out by somebody who's really not aware.
Yeah.
And we try and cut that off early when we can. We got to, people sign up for the school. We got to give them a chance to complete the school. But at some point, when somebody's obviously a danger and they're not improving, we have to cut them off. I don't know if you had a specific case in mind, Trey.
I did not. But we're all here for like information gathering and understanding. I think it's an amazing community. It's also crazy that we're still one of 3 comp schools in the nation that exists, and I do think that WDCR does it really, really well. It's a lot, but it's so much fun, and there's so much to learn. And even if for some reason you didn't pass, I promise you would leave with a path to success laid out for you in steps, so that a year later you can go back to school and then be successful.
Exactly. I mean, we had one student that didn't pass the school, needed more skill set in the driving aspect of it. And just like you said, they left with here's your plan. Before you come back next year to take the school, we want to see you do this many HPDs in that car or something else and get graded by HPD instructors in how you drive before you come back to the school the following year. So, leaving with a plan like that, hey, you came so close this year, you should do one more HPD. And then, oh, by the way, this other region is hosting a school in the Northeast in a month and a half. You could sign up for that one and do that and probably pass that too. So yeah, we want to see people come out and play because this is a great sport, and we're all about getting other people addicted to this really bad drug that we're all hung up on.
Yeah.
We've all fallen down into the black hole of motorsports. We want to just drag everybody else down in it too.
Oh yeah, there's nothing more addictive than this. It's like in the 20 whatever years I've been doing this, there's been no session that I haven't come off track, either HPD or a race or a practice or whatever, without a big stupid grin on my face. I don't care if I, broke the engine or got in an accident or whatever. It was still really stupid fun right up until that point. And then it's how fast can I get everything fixed or get my brain fixed before we come out to do this again? Because I gotta have more. Yeah. And don't ever start, putting Hoosiers on your car, because that just takes the addiction to a whole nother level.
Oh yeah, they're called purple crack for a reason.
Oh yeah, got 4 fresh ones sitting below me in my shop right now.
Oh, mine are right behind me.
Oh, yours are closer.
But I mean, we're all here for fun, and it's an incredible intoxication of ideas and growth. And as long as you steer into that, wanting to always grow collectively and personally, I think you would be successful. And that's what it boils down to.
Yeah, and be open in the community, like we were talking about earlier. You spend so much time in the paddock with everybody, and helping each other out. Hey, on the racetrack, you're going for it. Who's going to finish first? But hey, if somebody broke down in your class and they're in the paddock broken, chances are there's going to be 6 other people in their class standing around trying to help them get that car fixed, because it's all hands on deck to get every car back out there and get it going again. Because we're all trying to help each other, loan tools, parts, whatever it takes to get those cars back out, because it's a family. The track is a family.
Yeah. And that's, that's really one of the best things about our paddock and this type of racing is that family, right? Like we will go and race nose to tail and push each other and want to win worse than anything. But at the same time, we'll come off track and say, hey, look, you were doing this in the 3, and that's where I gain time on you every time. I'd probably do this and I wouldn't gain on you right there, right? We all want to make each other faster.
Oh yeah.
And it's crazy to experience that and then talk with people. I have a bunch of friends that race circle track, and talking with them, like their competitor, they will go give false information intentionally to their competitor, right? Or they break. That's the last person that's going to show up to help them. Meanwhile, we're going in our trailers to try to find parts for you. It really is incredible.
Yeah, it's super fun. The family and the environment and the joining of so many different cultures in the paddock is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
People come from all walks of life in the paddock,
Yep.
one end of the spectrum to the other. It doesn't matter. And we're all one family at the track. Doesn't matter where you came from, what you do for a living. Doesn't matter. We're all out playing with cars. It's great.
100%. That's why I love this region so much. It's not my home region. I travel up to the DC region to do all these events. The people are great. The atmosphere is great. The tracks are amazing. I love WDCR. It's really, really good. I am super I'm kind of rethinking my whole approach now. I may have to, I don't know if it's allowed, but come peek in on Comp School for a day.
Oh, absolutely welcome to come hang out.
I would love to come help us.
I would love to just listen for a second. The racecraft sounds amazing. I may have to, get a caged car. We'll see how that goes. But thank you so much for taking this hour to talk with us, Marshall. I really appreciate it. This has been awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, one final comment. We all know the workers are great in the HPD program. In the racing program, there's about 15 times more workers involved in the program. Right. There is a ton of stuff that has to happen, from grid, timing, stewards, tech, corner workers, multiple corner workers in every corner. They travel and they come to all the races, and we are there for their entertainment, basically. And the worker community is huge for the club racing community, and we couldn't do it without them. So, for students, make sure every time you see a worker, thank them. And part of your novice program, as getting your novice permit, is I think you're required to do 8 hours of work at one or two of the specialties before you get fully signed off for your license. It's in your logbook. Yeah. So you can go hang out with the grid workers for 2 hours, go hang out in timing and scoring for whatever. I highly recommend timing and scoring if it's a really hot weekend, because it's air conditioned. Or you can go out on a flag station or whatever, but it gets you out to meet some of the workers and constantly thank them and say hello to them. It's an outstanding crew. It's amazing. They do this for free.
That is.
They let us play.
And that's on amazing. That as well, if there's anybody listening, catches this beforehand, wants to or knows somebody that wants to get involved working, there is the flag school, F&C Flag and Communications School that happens during Comp School. So you take that class, that school, you'll get trained by some of the best. You'll spend time on the flag stations learning, and you'll come out of that weekend with your F&C certification for road racing.
Never get a better view of the racing either.
Yep.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Being part of it.
Have a corner that you just can't figure out why you lose time to everybody. Go sit on that flag station for a race or two.
You'll figure it out.
Yep.
Yeah. Why do you think the competition instructors go hang out at corners? It's so that we can learn.
Right.
You watch all the students going, yeah, we should do that or not do that. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that does work. Whoa.
I can't believe he got away with that.
Yeah.
Until the final race, when they all go pile on the inside of turn 1 to watch the mayhem that they created, mind you. They create the grid.
Yep.
I love that. I love that idea. I love that people have to know how the system works. They have to put in some hours, at each station. I think that's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you again, Marshall. I really appreciate you taking your time out of your evening to talk to us.
Great discussion.
Yeah.
That was really good. Thank you very much. And we'll do it again. We'll do it again next week, guys. Thank y'all for joining us.
Yeah, if anybody's actually coming to the HPD this weekend, we'll probably do this same kind of conversation at lunch on Saturday. Bring your
I'll
lunch
definitely
to
be
the
there.
classroom on Saturday. We'll have an open discussion about anything comp school related.
Yes,
You
sir.
know what?
I'll be there.
Maybe after comp school, maybe we can have a little bit of a recap discussion.
I think that sounds outstanding. Yeah.
Yeah, suck in one of the students as part of the panel.
Ooh,
that's a
yeah,
good idea.
I like that. I have
Yep.
a person in mind too.
I bet you do.
Well,
All right,
thank you
great.
all.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Y'all have a good night.
Bye.
Y'all too.